Welcome to yet another edition of the Stats and Stacks podcast, where today we're going over UFC Vegas. What is it, 49 at this point? We're looking at Islam Makhachev versus Bobby Green, stepping in on short notice. A lot of canceled fights again, and a lot of them is not even COVID related. A lot of them are just kind of with the visa issues as well as just some injuries. So it's a 12 fight offering. It's not the greatest card on earth, but it's a free fight card. You can't really complain about free. So again, only 12 fights here, not the greatest fights in the world, really tough ones to bet. So we're gonna kind of navigate around this card and try to make some money. So we just be very, very weary of what you're doing this week. But again, we're going to go ahead and we're going to start with the first fight of the night here. Make sure you give us a like over, like this video, give a like over on Instagram, over on Twitter, over on TikTok. Pretty much every platform you can think of, we're there. So at this juncture, we're going to go ahead and start with the very first fight of the night. We have Victor Altamirano going up against Carlos Hernandez. Victor at plus 105, Carlos at minus 125. Over under set at 2.5, over 2.5 minus 170, under 2.5 plus 140. We can go ahead and start with Victor here. This line has been flipping back and forth. Things I like about Victor is the fact that he has a 3-inch reach advantage in this fight. He has the higher output. He throws really good volume. His wrestling isn't exactly the greatest. His takedown defense is god awful. But his striking looks pretty when it's on the feet, man. It's pretty good. He's one of these Dana White Contender Series guys. His cardio looks great. And his jiu-jitsu apparently is not decent. I mean, he has some submission wins on his record. All in all, he's an overall okay fighter. This is the perfect type of guy I would like to fade coming out of Dana White Contender Series. And especially the way his fight was, he won a split decision. If you recall, there was a fight where the winner got a contract as well as the loser. That was this guy. He had won a split over Carlos Candelario, but I thought Carlos won, and I had money on Carlos that night, so I was pissed that they gave Victor the win, and here I am betting on Victor because I'm probably going to take him here to win. Although I said I don't really like him and I want to fade a Dana White Contender Series guy. His opponent, Carlos Hernandez, is also a Dana White Contender Series guy, so you can't fade them both. He's 28 years old. His striking's okay. His wrestling is just okay. His cardio checked out. He was perfectly fine. His jiu-jitsu is perfectly fine. They're basically the same fighter. He has pretty good volume as well, in all honesty. He just, I don't know. He put on with his Contender Series fight. He also started kind of slow, and then he applied some pressure very, very late in the fight and just kind of took over here. None of these guys have a ton of knockout power. It really comes down to like submissions, and they're both pretty decent on the ground here. Both with a few submission wins here on their record. So they both have sketchy wrestling. They both have pretty good jiu-jitsu. They both have pretty good striking, but not a lot of power. So the pick would be Victor just because it's a 50-50 fight, and I have no idea, even lined that way. I mean, plus 105 is not a lot of value. What I don't mind is the over here. The over 2.5 at minus 170. I think that is pretty good value. I don't think either one is going to tap either one out. So the pick is going to be Victor, but I'm not confident at all. The bet would be the over 2.5, and I don't hate it, to be honest. All right, and the next fight of the night is also something it's really, really hard to bet here. We have Ramiz Brahimaj at minus 365 going up against Michael Gilmore at plus 280. Over under set at 2.5 again. Over 2.5 is plus 105. Under 2.5 is minus 135. And the reason the under 2.5 is the reason the over 2.5 is plus money is because of Ramiz Brahimaj. In all honesty, he is 9-4. He has a 9-4 record. He has pretty good wrestling. It's okay. I should say it looks good. It looked very good on the regional scene. Since he's gotten to the UFC, he shot 0 against Max Griffin. It did not look good against Court McGee. Looked great against Sasha, but I don't know if Sasha is necessarily UFC caliber. So his wrestling, it seems like, is effective over non-grapplers. His jiu-jitsu is off the charts. He's a high level black belt on the ground. If he gets you there, it's game over typically. His problem is his striking is ever improving. He's only 29 years old. It's getting better and better, but his cardio is god awful. It's not good. He has a round and a half of cardio at best. and then he's just a shell of himself and he just becomes a punching bag. He's very, very hittable at that juncture. He likes to move forward. Even when he's gassed, he's just like a lingering zombie just going forward, trying to take you down. But it's very hard for him to get takedowns when he's exhausted, and it's very hard for him not to get just pieced up when he's exhausted on the feet. So he's a first rounder bust. And when you're looking at his record, 9 wins here, all 9 come by decision, or sorry, all 9 come by submission. And not only are they coming in submission, his last fight, submission, first round. His last one before that, submission, first round. His last one before that, submission, 2 minutes into the second round. But the one before that, submission in the first round. Before that, submission in the first round. Before that, submission in the first round. 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 He has 9 wins, 8 are submission in the first round. And the only one that was not sub in the first round was a second round sub. So clearly he has a key to victory here. It's just a matter if he's able to get this fight down to the ground and do it early. The good news for him is that he's fighting Michael Gilmore, which generally speaking, you can do. He's 6-4, but we do want to reiterate that he came into the Ultimate Fighter house on very, very short notice. He is traditionally a welterweight. He fought at middleweight, and he got choked out by Gilbert Urbina. Gilbert's not the worst on the ground, but not the greatest luck. He lost his UFC debut again at middleweight to Andre Petrosian. And again, he's a welterweight, and he got taken down. He got ground and pounded down there. He just really got destroyed on the ground. And that's the issue. When you look at his losses, he has 4 losses. He has 1 via ground and pound. He has 1 via submission. He has 1 via submission. He has 1 via submission. Not a good look. All of his losses are on the ground. And you have Ramirez who wants to take you down and submit you on the ground early. I mean, Gilmore's striking's pretty good. It's Taekwondo. You'll hear him say that he was one of Dominic Cruz's wrestling teammates back in high school. So he's not the youngest kid in the world. He's pretty old here. What is he? He's 34 years old. He likes to counter a lot. That does make him a little hittable, but again, he's definitely the better striker compared to Ramirez. But Ramirez took this fight on short notice. And he came off a pretty embarrassing loss. So my thoughts are he wants to get back in the win column. He saw someone where all of his losses are on the ground. I think we know exactly what he's going to do. He's going to come out and he's going to try to take him down and tap him out early. So for that, I would have to say the pick is going to be Ramirez, but I can't trust his cardio. I can't trust his striking. This is a live betting opportunity. I would bet Ramirez by sub. I think it's only like plus 100 or something. It's barely any value, but at that juncture, he could get ground and pounded. I would do Ramirez inside. I would do Ramirez round 1. If that doesn't hit and we see a round 2, you better automatically auto bet Gilmore because he will destroy him later on. His cardio is not the greatest, but Ramirez is that bad. So the pick is going to be Ramirez. What I would do is just live bet it, in all honesty. If it comes out the second, I'd hop on over to the Gilmore side, and you're going to get great odds there. And then the next fight of the night, we have Alejandro Perez as a plus 190 dog going up against Jonathan Martinez as a minus 235 favorite. Over under set at 2.5. Over 2.5 is minus 155. Under 2.5 plus 125. I'll be 100% honest with you. I hate Jonathan Martinez for absolutely no reason. Like, he's never done anything to me. It's just one of those, like, he has a hittable face. He really doesn't do anything wrong. Sometimes you just don't like someone for no reason. I mean, I'm sure he's a super nice guy. I know he's good friends with one of my favorite fighters, and Brandon Royval, as they train together at Factory X. It's just, I don't know. Just has a hittable face, man. What can I tell you? And he's also cost me a lot of money a lot of times. I mean, I know I bet Frankie Saenz against him, and he went out there and finished Frankie Saenz. I know that I just stayed away from Thomas Almeida because I want no part of that. I'm pretty sure I had him against Stevie Grant, and then he came out and dominated the first round and then got knocked out in the second. And I'm pretty sure I had Levage Vilishvili, the Georgian wrestler, up against him. I'm pretty sure I had him over Martinez, and then Martinez beat him. I just can't figure this guy out. And honestly, looking at it here, I think my bias is just I should be able to see what's going on here. So wrestling is not that bad. Did I think maybe you could just take him down and ground him because he's predominantly a striker? Absolutely. But the guy's been taken down one time the last like 3 or 4 years. He is not easy to take down. He has like a 70% takedown defense. His striking's phenomenal. I would say he doesn't have a ton of power, but he has a lot of knee finishes, like a flying knee ground and pound. Knee here before getting, or that was in the UFC. Like he's okay on the ground. He's really not bad anywhere, in all honesty. I know that he had some trouble making weight. That's another thing that made me mad. That's what really set me off. I think I just started betting like 2 or 3 years ago, and he might have been one of the first people where it looked like they intentionally missed weight in exactly 5 pounds over, and then came out and used that to their advantage. It's one thing to miss weight. It's another thing to just give up and then just use it as an advantage, and that kind of pissed me off. That's what really set me off about him. But he made weight his last fight. And that was definitely the Frankie Sands fight where he missed weight. He made weight against Davey Grant. Like, he's made weight ever since. So I'll cut him a little slack here. I'm especially going up against Alejandro Perez. Oh, he also has a 5-inch reach advantage, which I absolutely love, considering this should be a striking ordeal. His volume checks out. Perez, neither one of those. He has a 5-inch reach disadvantage, clearly. He does not have high volume by any means. He was away from the sport for a few years and then just randomly popped back up against a 45-year-old Johnny Aguardo. So that was kind of odd. He's very, very boxing heavy. He doesn't really have a lot of, you don't have to worry about leg kicks or even takedowns, in all honesty. He gets them at like a 30% clip. And he doesn't shoot a lot of them. He shoots like 1 a fight. So you don't really have to worry about that. All you have to worry about is him turning it into a boxing match. And I just think Martinez has a lot more tools on the feet here. Cardio doesn't seem to be an issue for either gentleman. So if you're having a predominantly striking bout, I will take the more well-versed guy with more volume that hits harder. So the pick is going to be Jonathan Martinez, and the bet would minus 215 is not bad. I'm going to have to end up, minus 235. I'm going to end up parlaying him a lot, unfortunately. All right. And then the next fight of the night, we have one that was canceled and rescheduled multiple times, and I'm ready for it. I want all the smoke. We have Terence McKeen at plus 105 now, going up against vsrazeum at minus 125. Over under set at 2.5. Over 2.5 plus 115. Under 2.5 minus 145. And we'll start with the reason why. Terence motherfucking McKeen. This dude, man, he's 11-3, but you just need to look at his record. He's a lightweight, but he is rowdy, man. He has, look at his wins. 7-second win, knockout. 1 minute knockout. 17-second knockout. 16-second knockout. He even loses quickly on a minute submission. Round 2 knockout. Then you got to go back before he ever went in the Contender Series, and you have 40-second knockout, halfway through the first round knockout, 7-second knockout, 39-second loss, leg injury, still quick, loses quick too. 3rd round submission win. There we go. Round 3, I'll take it. Armbar submission win, 1st round. Rear naked choke, 1st round. Rear naked choke, 1st round. This dude's literally only been out of the 1st round 1, 2 times. 2 times in his whole career. The dude has 14 fights and 12 of them ended in the 1st round, whether it's win or lose. The dude's nuts. He has a sneaky good ground game. No one really realizing how good his ground game is. Just solely on the fact that he has a ton of power. This dude is the definition of explosive. He comes out, and if he cracks you, you're going out. His striking's okay. It's not the greatest striking. It's just very, very fast twitch. And he hits like a truck. So he has a lot of power, okay striking, good wrestling, very good wrestling, good ground game. I love everything about him except for the one thing you need at MMA. The most important weapon you can have is cardio, and that is something he lacks. It doesn't show often, considering all of his fights end in the 1st round, but in that Contender Series fight against John Woodson, he did gas out and then ultimately lost. You look at just other fights in general, he's not going to decision for a reason. He just doesn't have the cardio. He will slow down. I would say the same about his opponent and Faraz, but I don't know. I've seen Faraz with good cardio. I've seen him with bad cardio. It seems when it's a pretty wrestle-heavy approach, that's when he tends to gas out. We saw it against Luigi. We saw it against Don Madge. All in all, Both these kids are young. Terence is 27. Faraz is only 24 years old. He is very, very good striking. It's underrated. It's very, very good. Not a ton of power. Even looking at his record, he doesn't really have a ton of knockouts here, just a lot of decisions. He's a decisionator a little bit. But his cardio, I don't know if it's good or bad. I've seen it both ways. His wrestling, another one, I don't know if it's good or bad. I know when he came into the UFC, it was god awful. And I know he's been working it nonstop. He's moved over to Sanford MMA, which is a great move to work on your wrestling. And it looked really good in his last fight. And then I kind of flipped the switch and said, you know what, maybe this kid isn't half bad. And then I realized it was Luigi Vendramini. He's not the greatest wrestler in the world. Faraz is also surprisingly low volume. He's very, very accurate. He's very, very good on the feet. He just doesn't throw enough for my liking. So at that juncture, if he is someone that gasses out when grappling is involved, this fight could have grappling. Terence, if he wants to win, he probably should grapple and try to tap him out. Zium's been submitted twice in his career. Out of his four, or how many losses does he have? Out of his 3 losses, 2 of them come by submission. So that is an Achilles heel he has. Problem is Terence McKinney is going to tire himself doing that. So then does it become a striking match? Because I think Faraz is the better striker, but he doesn't have any power. Terence McKinney, if he touches you, you're going out. And we saw Faraz rocked in his last fight against Luigi. And Luigi rocked him in the 3rd round because Luigi was down 2-0. They said, just go at him wild and break him, pressure him and break him. And that's the way Terence McKinney fights from the start, from the first bell. So at that juncture, I think Terence could knock him out. I think Faraz could decision him, or I think McKinney could tap him out. That's 2 ways for McKinney to win. I only see one for Faraz. For that, I have to make my pick McKinney, and my bet is going to be McKinney, considering there's a big plus sign next to his money. Only plus 105, not a ton, but plus nonetheless. And then that takes us to the next fight, one where I am just absolutely perplexed as well. We have Josiana Nunez as a, God, it hurts to say, minus 220 favorite going up against Ramona Pascal as a plus 180 dog. Over under, I have side at 1.5. Over 1.5 minus 125, under 1.5 minus 105. The reason it's set at 1.5 is going to be Nunez. Nunez is one of the most, I think she's one of the worst fighters in the UFC. People like her. I think she is god awful. First and foremost, she's 5'2" and she's fighting at 135. She is 8-1, but she is a can crusher. She has good power. I'll give her that. She has very good power. And she pressures you hard. She's in your face nonstop. But a lot of her wins finish early, and we have no idea if she can keep that pressure and if that cardio continues. We have absolutely no idea. She's very high volume, ton of power. Her jiu-jitsu, I've only seen her on the ground once, and I think that was the Tyler Santos one, and she tapped her out. Her wrestling, I haven't really seen it. It didn't look the greatest, but she didn't have a lot of people shoot takedowns. But I'm looking at her wins. Round 1, round 2, round 2, round 2, round 1. We don't know if she can do it for 3 rounds. This fight is also at 145 because Ramona's taking it on short notice. So not only is she the smallest woman at bantamweight, this is going to be at featherweight. I don't like that at all for her. God, she's so tiny. She's 5'2". Even her win in the UFC was against Bea Malecki. Bea Malecki had like 0 fights on her record. What was she, 2-0? Like now she's 2-1. She fought someone with 3 fights. That's your UFC win. It's very, very sketchy. I don't want to trust her, but I don't really want to get in front of her because of how much power she has. It would take the right person to fade. I cannot wait to bet against Nunez, but I don't know if Ramona's the right one. I don't think she's the one. Her striking's okay. I know she has a little bit of a Muay Thai background. And again, she has taken this fight on like a week's notice. One thing that I did see that made me consider betting her was her fight against, what was it, Son Yu Jian. I know it was only her 2nd fight ever, and I know it was a long time ago. It was Si Woo Jin. I am so sorry. And I know it was 4 years ago, but the fight itself, the girl was 0-0, and she came out and she just pressured her like crazy. She just came out swinging wild shots and pressured. And that's the exact way Nunes fights. Pascal's response was not to just get clipped and go out or to try to wrestle. I have seen her try to wrestle before. It is not good. She can't wrestle. But she, again, I said, does Muay Thai. And as she was pressured, she would grab a Muay Thai plum and just knee the shit out of the girl's body repeatedly, and then take one to the head and then do a million to the body. And she never stopped throwing. And it looked like she was in control considering she had the plum. Nunes is a little girl. That's going to be easy to grab a plum there. It's going to be very difficult to contain considering how strong Nunes is. But if she can contain it, because this is going to be at 145, she will have a size advantage. If she's able to keep that plum and do the same approach she did against the last girl that tried to pressure her, I could see the upset. I just don't like the plus 180. I would need a little more, in all honesty, because as I was, kind of praising the plum idea, I thought it was a good approach. I mean, I thought it was a good approach. It just does kind of concern me just a little bit because she was getting rocked a ton. If she wasn't getting hit so much, it would be perfectly fine and I would bet her. But the fact that she was getting rocked so much, I am just a little itty bitty bit concerned in reference to it. So I can't really pick her in confidence. So I don't really want to bet it. What I will bet is that over 1.5. I think she can at least survive with this being a featherweight. So the pick, I guess Nunes, because he had a full fight camp. But the bet would probably be the over 1.5. Then the next fight takes me to another fight I like a ton. We have Ignacio Hernandez at minus 225 going against Zhongrong at plus 185. Over under set at 2.5. Over 2.5 is minus 170. Under 2.5 is plus 140. Let's start with Ignacio. Dude's huge. He's young. He's 24 years old and 6'3". The reason he can make lightweight at 6'3" is because he's 24 years old. He's still growing into his body. But as he's growing, you're seeing him get better and better each and every fight. He's another one of these guys I did not want to back coming straight from the Contender Series. And I was right. He fought John Medeski and he lost. And Medeski was like a plus 200 dog. And I got it. Loved it. It was a great call. But Ignacio looked a hell of a lot better against Roosevelt Roberts. The dude looked great, honestly. He has 100% takedown defense in the UFC. And Roosevelt Roberts isn't the greatest wrestler in the world, but he did have 12 takedown attempts and none of them went over 12. Ignacio has really high volume, and this isn't like a one fight ordeal. I mean, he's had technically 3 fights under the Zuffa banner, if you include his Contender Series fight, and he has a ton of volume, high volume, like 7 significant strikes per minute. He has a 4-inch reach advantage in this fight. His jiu-jitsu is a little questionable, but he does have a tendency to go kind of forward. And his cardio seems to check out. He'll slow a little bit, but not enough to where I'm concerned at all. I'm starting to like the guy. He's growing on me. He's not long for 155. He won't be able to keep making this weight class, but while he's here, these big reach advantages are definitely going to help him, especially against people like Zhongrong. Zhongrong is going to be good. I said Ignacio is young. Zhongrong, it's crazy. He has 23 pro fights. The dude's only 21 years old. Dude's young, super young, 21 years old. He's getting better. And you can see it each and every time out. He even went over to American Top Team, which is perfect for him. I like that. But he is a little hittable right now. He is a little gun shy. His wrestling's pretty good. It's sneaky good. Again, Ignacio has 100% takedown defense, but he didn't fight. Really only one person tried to take him down, and they're not the greatest wrestlers. So it'll be interesting to see how that plays out. Zhongrong's jiu-jitsu is just okay as well. It's not the greatest in the world. He also only really throws hands. I don't see him throwing any leg kicks. I don't see him throwing any head kicks. Ignacio throws with a little more variety here. Juice cardio, it seemed okay. But again, he's one of these where he doesn't throw a ton. So his cardio shouldn't be bad if he's hardly throwing anything. So I don't know. At a high pace fight, I don't know how it works with him when it comes to cardio. But all in all, I think they're both young. I think they're both improving. It's just right now with them fighting so early in their careers, I am going to have to take the larger and crisper striker in Ignacio. So the pick is going to be Ignacio. I don't know if I want to bet him straight up. I'll probably end up with minus 225. That seems like a parlay piece to me. So the pick is Ignacio. The bet would be Ignacio and some parlays. All right. Then the next fight of the night is one I'm really looking forward to. We have RoboCop Gregory Rodriguez at minus 155 going up against Armen Petrosian at plus 135. Over under set at 1.5. Over 1.5 plus 105. Under 1.5 minus 135. Again, this is another violent fight. And it's because of both men, in all honesty. We'll start with RoboCop first. I think that he is good, but I think he only has one round in him. He is massive for the weight class. I have no idea how he makes 185. I mean, the dude's 6'3" as well, but like, look at the amount of muscle mass on this dude. This dude literally has 0% body fat. He has really good power, world-class jiu-jitsu. It's very, very good. He's very good on the ground. His striking's not bad. It's just he has a little bit of a glass jaw. He gets knocked out often. I mean, he got knocked out by Jordan Williams. That's a big one you'll hear. But that's not a good knockout. Jordan Williams is a welterweight with diabetes. Like, he's not the biggest power puncher in the world. Bruno Lopez knocked him out in his very first fight, and that was a minute in. I don't like that. And even his last fight, that's the one that really, really concerned me against Zhongrong Park. Zhongrong had him rocked badly, and then he rushed in really quickly trying to get the win, and he got knocked out. He caught him clean. However, his cardio was another reason he started to get rocked. He was gassed after the first round. His wrestling looked good. His jiu-jitsu, phenomenal. His striking looked fine, but after that bell rung and he had to go back to his stool and come back out, he was not the same fighter. He got rocked and he got lucky to catch the opponent coming in. I don't know if he can get lucky again, but I don't know if he has to. Armen is an interesting case here. I just said I like fading contender series fighters, but I like fading them as favorites, not as dogs. And Armen is a plus 140 dog. His jiu-jitsu, not the greatest. It's really not that good. His wrestling, awful, god awful. But the good thing is he has actually recently went to American Top Team to work on his wrestling, and you see it. His last fight, it looked a lot better. Honestly, even when he got taken down, he popped right back up and made sure to get right back on the feet and finish the damn thing. So I was impressed that before, when you could take him down and kind of control him, the fact he went over to America and worked on his wrestling, and then showed improvements. He's only going to get better. He's not super young, but he's not super old. I mean, he's 31. So there is a little bit of room for improvement, especially in that area. He has very good power, good striking. He's a kickboxer. His cardio, I really don't know, because most of his fights finish in the first round as well. I mean, look at him here. He has round one knockout. He lost in the first round. Then round two knockout. Round 3 knockout, round 1 knockout. So most of his fights end in the first or second round. He has one win in the third round, and it was a knockout. So that does, give me a little hope there in reference to his cardio. I know RoboCop doesn't have cardio. Armen is a question mark. So at the end of the day, it's a matter of, does Armen come out here and knock Gregory out, or does Gregory take him down and try to submit him? That's why the under is where it is. But I don't really want to. I think it's a 50-50 fight, in all honesty. And a lot of Armen's fights were at 205. This is at 185. So if Gregory was getting knocked out by middleweights and welterweights, he has someone that predominantly fought at light heavyweight now coming down and hitting him. I think it only takes one. So the pick is going to be Armen. The bet is going to be Armen because of the value there at plus 140. All right. And then next fight of the night, speaking of people named Armen, we have Joel Alvarez at plus 190 going up against Armen Tsarukyan at minus 235. Over under set at 2.5. Over 2.5 plus 100. Under 2.5 minus 130. Let's start with Armen. I love this kid. I think he's super, super good. 2 losses. He has 1 loss via knockout really, really early in his career. Second fight ever, he just got caught. And then his other losses to Islam Makhachev. And that was also in 2019. So that was 3 years ago. The kid was 22 years old. I know he does a lot of training at ATT. He does a lot of training at Tiger Muay Thai. His striking is getting ever better. At first, he came in predominantly a wrestler, and his wrestling is phenomenal. It's very, very good. He even took down Islam a few times. However, he has a ton of pressure, and his striking was a little bit of a weak spot. It's phenomenal now. I mean, even his very last fight, Christos Giagos is not a bad fighter, and he came out and head kicked him and then beat the shit out of him. Caught him with the left hook and put the lights out. He is fast. He has really fast hand that looked really clean. You see the improvements, and that's the thing. You see these kids that come into the UFC too early. He came in and he was 21, 22 years old, and now the striking is starting to match the wrestling. He already had the wrestling, and that's the best thing you can have coming into MMA. Now that the striking touching up, God, if he becomes a jiu-jitsu this division is unnoticed. They already are. He's already ranked. He's a very, very good fighter. I like the kid a lot. He's going to be here for a while. I am concerned at the price tag, though, because Joel Alvarez is no joke. This guy is 19-2. He fancies himself a striker, but the dude is a submission artist. He has 19 wins. I think 14 of them are by submission. Like the dude, and it's not like he just has one move. He has guillotines, he has triangles, he has arm bars, darts chokes. He can do it off his back. He can do it on top. And then his last fight, he came out and got a knockout. So, I mean, the problem with Joel Alvarez is his cardio and his weight. A lot of these fights are early on. My concern is he has lost before in the UFC to Damir Ismagulov. Damir is a phenomenal fighter. He's one of the most underrated fighters in the UFC, hands down. But he was able to take him down and control him. His other loss, he got head kicked. He just got caught. Shit happens. That was a really, really long time ago. But at the end of the day, all the rest of these wins come very early, and they're all by sub. So I know Damir was able to take him down and control him, but a lot of other people have taken him down and gotten ground and pounded or guillotined or arm barred. So it's dangerous to take this guy down. And then he said he's a striker, and he looked great on the feet last fight. He has a 5-inch reach advantage in this fight. His cardio, again, is questionable, and he does get hit a ton. So that's another thing to worry about. But again, 5-inch reach advantage in this matchup. So if Armen, who's a great wrestler, wants to take him down, he has to be very careful not to get guillotined or caught while he's down there. If he wants to just keep the fight standing, he will have a speed advantage, but Alvarez will have a 5-inch reach advantage, and he's not a bad striker. So that's why I don't like the price tag on Armen. I will ultimately pick Armen to win. However, I don't know which way I want to bet until after weigh-ins. Armen missed weight against Matt Frevola 2 fights ago. Joel missed the last 2 fights. I'm surprised they did not make him go up to 170. The kid is 6'3" as well. He's not long for the lightweight division at all. If he misses weight again, Jesus Christ. But yeah, I don't know how he's going to weigh in. And honestly, Thiago Moises was interviewed afterwards, and he was talking about how strong Joel was. Thiago fought Islam. Thiago fought Bobby Green. He fought Michael Johnson, and he said that Joel was the strongest guy he ever fought. So that does kind of concern me with Armen. I think Armen is so good. It's going to be a great fight. I really just want to sit back and enjoy it. But the pick will be Armen. The bet, I even want to touch the over under. In all honesty, I don't think Armen finishes Joel. So if I'm going to pick Armen, I'd actually just I'd bet Armen by decision. Or I might just take the over at plus 100. Over 2.5, I might do that. He might be able to ground them just like Damir did. All right. Then the next fight of the night is an interesting one. We have Priscilla Catchaware at plus 145 going up against Jin Young Kim as a minus 165 favorite. Over under set at 2.5. Over 2.5 minus 210. Under 2.5 plus 165. Priscilla Catchaware, I said Nunez is probably one of the worst women fighters. I think Priscilla actually is. She's bad. She's very, very bad. Her last fight was a disgrace. She just got taken out by Jillian Robinson so early, and she was cheating. She was gouging her eyes, and she missed weight by like 4 pounds. Like, it was just a overall embarrassing performance. The fight before that, Gina Mazzani was whooping her ass and then gassed herself out like she always does. And then she just knocked her out. Gina basically quit on her feet, and then that was that. Fight before that, she fought someone that was 3-3 and is now cut from the promotion, and Shayna Dobson, and knocked her out in 40 seconds. Luana Carolina beat the shit out of her, and Luina I don't think too highly of. Molly McCann took her down and beat the shit out of her, and Molly McCann's okay. But she's a British boxer, and she was able to continually shoot double legs on Priscilla, so that's not good. And then for whatever reason, she fought Valentina. That was just a sacrifice. So at that juncture, yes, she's a total fraud. She came into the UFC with a bunch of knockouts and a bunch of wins undefeated. She got exposed by Valentina, exposed by Molly, and now she's actually went from undefeated to one of the worst. And that is Priscilla in a nutshell. Her nickname is the zombie girl because she gets hit a lot. Like, she's also very low volume. Like, she dishes out around 2 to 3 significant strikes per minute, but she's getting hit with 6 to 7. So you are doubling or tripling her on the feet when it comes to volume. She can't wrestle. She has no ground game. She can't make weight. She just has a ton of power. That's it. Literally it. No technique. She just comes out and she swings, and if she catches you, she hopes to put you out. Kim, on the other hand, I like her nickname. It was the Fiery Fist. She's not too good either. She also cannot wrestle to save her life, so this will probably be on the feet. I believe she has a 40% takedown, which Priscilla's it might be. It's close. I think they both have about a 40% takedown defense. Her striking is very good. It's just she too is hittable. Neither one of these girls believe in Fire Fist. Neither one of these girls believe in head movement for whatever reason. She also does not have good jiu-jitsu. She also gets hit more than she hits you, but she does have good volume, and she does have a 7-inch reach advantage. So all in all, I think both these girls are pretty bad. Both of them, all they can do is strike. It's just one hits hard and gets hit a ton. The other one gets hit a little bit, but has a ton of volume and a 7-inch reach advantage. So give me the volume and the reach. So give me Kim to get the dub, how would I bet it? God, minus 165, probably just Kim straight up. I don't trust her in parlays. All right, then it takes us to the main event, the co-main event. We have Misha Serkinov at minus 125 going up against Wellington Turman at plus 105. Over under set at 1.5. Over 1.5 minus 165. Under 1.5 at plus 135. Let's start with Wellington. Talk about people I don't like. I can't stand this kid. He's 25 years old. I know he's currently training with the champ and Glover. He supposedly has good jiu-jitsu, but it doesn't look the greatest in the UFC thus far. His chin is very, very suspect. Not a good chin whatsoever. I understand he got knocked up by Bruno Silva. Shit happens. But he also got knocked up by Andrew Sanchez, and that's like his only knockout win on his career. He also has a split decision loss to Carl Roberson, and Carl Roberson was taking him down, so that's questionable. Carl Roberson is a kickboxer. Turman gets hit more than he dishes out. That's very concerning, especially with the suspect chin. His cardio isn't bad. It looked fine his last fight, so I'll give him that. He has 100% takedown defense at the moment. However, he fought Sam Alvey, who doesn't wrestle. He fought Bruno Silva, who doesn't wrestle. He fought Andrew Sanchez, who does wrestle, but didn't shoot a takedown because he knocked him out. He fought Marcus Perez, who can't really wrestle. And Carl Roberson wasn't taking him down, but he was holding his own. He wasn't able to tap out Carl Roberson when they were on the ground. And Carl Roberson also cannot wrestle. So not exactly, it's easy to have 100% takedown defense if you've only faced like 2 takedown attempts and none of them wrestle. So that number is skewed. Misha is going to wrestle. He wrestles a lot. He's a pretty good wrestler. He predominantly fights at 205, but he made a cut down to 185 for the first time his last fight, which is a little concerning when you drop weight and you're older. He's about to turn 35 next week. He has very good jiu-jitsu and good wrestling. His striking leaves a little to be desired. He's okay on the feet, but it's very slow. He hits kind of hard, but doesn't have a ton of knockouts. It's just very slow. He will have a 5-inch reach advantage here, which I like a ton. He also has a little bit of a sus chin, though. I mean, looking at it, he's been knocked out by Ryan Spann. He's been knocked out by Johnny Walker, Glover Teixeira, Volkan. I understand that all these guys are at 205 and hit like trucks. I get that 110%. But the guy only has 7 losses, and like 4 or 5 of them are by knockout. So it is a little questionable. Otherwise, he doesn't gas, but he does slow down as the fight goes on. So I'll say Turman has the better cardio, and the striking is a wash. The wrestling advantage I give to Misha, but the jiu-jitsu I'd probably make it a wash. So it's a close fight. Generally speaking, like this, odds like these, I would just take whoever the dog is in the dog or pass scenario. But money just keeps coming in on Turman, and he's basically just even money right now. Not a ton of value. So I actually don't mind the over at minus 165. I think their jiu-jitsu cancels out. So I don't think either is going to tap each other out. They both have suspect chins, but neither one of them have a ton of power. So I will take the over 1.5 because I can't choose a side here. The pick, I guess, would be Misha, but actually the pick would probably be Wellington because he has a better cardio, but well, no, I would bet the over 1.5. And then once that hits, fuck it. They can knock each other out. It doesn't matter. And then that's going to take us to the main event. We're looking at Islam Makhachev at minus 720, Bobby Green plus 500. And these odds are skyrocketing since I took these notes. Over under set at 2.5, over 2.5 minus 125, under 2.5 minus 105. Let's go ahead and start with the guy that took the fight on 2 weeks' notice, Bobby King Green. Dude's the man. He has really, really good underrated striking. People know it's good, but it's even better than people think. His cardio is phenomenal. He can go for days. He can go for 10 rounds if he really wanted to. He has really high volume. His takedowns, he will mix in a takedown or two, probably not against Islam, but his takedown defense checks out too. It's like 72%. Probably not against Islam, but at the time being, his jiu-jitsu, he hasn't been tapped out in forever. He's not going to submit you. He also hasn't submitted anyone for like decades, but it's hard to tap him out. His jiu-jitsu is fine. He just doesn't have a ton of power either. He's going to come out there, he threw 188 significant strikes landed last fight. That's a lot. For a 3-round fight, that's a ton. And he looked perfectly fine when it came to cardio. But if you hit someone hard 188 times and they're still standing in front of you, you don't carry a lot of power. Outside of not having power and not getting any sort of finishes, the dude's a great fighter. All in all, probably in the lightweight division. Lightweight's tough. I think he's a top 15 guy. I was going to say top 10, possibly top 10, but possibly top 10. But I'll tell you who is top 10 is Islam. This dude might be the guy in all honesty. He doesn't have good wrestling. He has great wrestling. It's fucking phenomenal. His striking is okay. It's getting better. It's still not good by any means, but he doesn't get hit. He only gets hit like 1 time per minute. And I think a lot of that are people had their hands so low and they're so scared of the takedown because they know it's coming that they forget to get their offense. They're just thinking about being defensively sound and forgetting about their own offense. This jiu-jitsu is good, man. I mean, the tap out against Drew Dober, he's making up submissions on the fly in the octagon. He tapped out Dan Hooker in like a few minutes. What was it? It was 2 minutes and 23 seconds. I know that Dan Hooker took it on short notice and is not a jiu-jitsu guy, but like Dan Hooker's fought jiu-jitsu guys and no one did that to him, and especially like that. Islam's a little lower volume. I don't like that a ton. But again, a lot of it is just control on the ground. He's not gonna lose rounds because you're not hitting him, and even if he's not hitting you, he took you down and he's controlling you. So there's not a lot that goes into the main event here. It's gonna be Islam or pass, in all honesty. Not a lot of value. I've seen all the way up to like minus 1,000 on Islam. You're getting zero value here. So at that juncture, you're looking at finishes, you're looking at props, or the over/under set at 2.5. I don't know. I think Islam's going to want to make a statement so that he can get the title shot. 2.5, I can see it. I'd actually probably take the under there. So the pick is going to be Islam. You can take the under, or you can just throw him in every single parlay you have because Bobby Green's plus 500. So at that point, if your parlay is still alive, any of them, you just throw money on Bobby Green and it's going to balance out you regardless. So you put Islam in literally every single parlay, and then just hedge with Bobby Green if you're still alive. And that's UFC Vegas 49. Otherwise, again, give this video a like, look at Instagram, look at Twitter, look at TikTok. Things will be up here both today, mostly tomorrow. Make sure we watch weigh-ins. There will be changes at times after weigh-ins, contingent on a lot of these people missing weight quite frequently. Otherwise, we've been doing okay this year, but we want to have our first great card of the year. So let's hope it's this dicey one. It's a little risky, but we can get through it. Let's get paid, baby.